This, although tragic, will never extinguish the glory, the livelihood, and the drama that daily unfolds in the northern fringes of Jigawa.
Gbagi is an ethnic group predominantly found in north-central Nigeria, with a population of over 10 million people. The plural name of the people is Agbagi, which is also referred to as the name and the language of Gbagi people. Speakers of the dialect are loosely called Gwari by most people in Nigeria, even though they prefer to be known as Gbagi. Gbagi people are found in states like Niger, Kaduna, Federal Capital Territory, Nasarawa, and Kogi states. Gbagi is the most populated ethnic and indigenous group in the north-central Nigeria, and their major occupation is farming and pottery.
This is the network.
Of raising children in a contemporary society, correspondent examines the issues and the gaps. Spread compassion, kindness, and hope in the face of the coronavirus pandemic. That is the message from the United Nations as the world marks Peace Day. Communities within coastal areas in Rivers State advised to relocate to higher grounds. Plus, medical experts profile solutions to the increasing cases of suicide. I'm glad to welcome you on The Correspondence today with interesting stories that will worth your while. I am Tessie Omeri. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the challenges of nursing and raising children. There may be no doubt to say that the birth of a baby in a family comes with joy and excitement among parents, well-wishers, and by extension the larger society. However, the task of nursing and general upbringing can both be rewarding and challenging experience. From Lafia, correspondent Bilkisu Umar Gurku goes to town and brought back her findings.
After 9 months of hard work, Jamila Muhammad and her husband are blessed with a bundle of joy. The baby is the fourth with 3 other siblings, 2 boys and a girl. For her, this calls for additional responsibility as child upbringing and nursing is crucial to character molding. It is also to ensure children live cherished and prosperous life.
Well, all thanks to God. We thank God for everything. Because if not for Him, we can't take care of them. But we thank God, everything is going smoothly. Thank God.
Other parents like Jamila say taking care of children's health is very important. There is the need of dedicating more time and energy to confront the challenges of children upbringing.
It is the responsibility of every parent that brings a child to the world to make sure that first and foremost, that child is being fed, that child is being clothed, that child is being taught to live a life of a godly life.
There are so many challenges considering the fact that I'm alone. So and my other baby doesn't eat. Even though she's 2 years old, I will have to feed her in the night with pap. Then breastfeed the little one. So there's serious challenges, but that's how I cope.
It's not easy. You'll be talking as if you're not doing anything. But through the help of God, God will help us to raise them well.
To be a mother is not easy. It's not easy, it's challenging, but you have to bear it and enjoy it.
The men also have responsibility, as it is believed that in parenting, each stakeholder must play their own part.
The responsibility of taking care of our children, lies on both the father and the mother. So it is a parental responsibility, not just for one spouse.
Not only the parents, but the society also has a role to play in bringing up our children. But financially, it boils on the parents.
If I say my child, stop this, I will not even carry a cane or no. If you just see my eye, because of due to the way I train them right from childhood, they will stop what they are doing. If they know that thing is bad, and if I see that thing is bad, if I just shout on them or if I just look at them, they will stop it.
Stakeholders say effective parenting is key with effective care, skills and communication to raise children Nigeria will be proud of to call her own.
Yes, Bilkisu, parents have a huge task of raising children who are expected to become productive members of the family, in particular, and of course the society in general. Many thanks, Bilkisu. Now, let's talk about peace. The United Nations has set aside September 21st as the World Peace Day, a day the entire global community is expected to observe and foster peace across the various aspects of society. Correspondent Tekla Wike tells us the significance of this year's theme and what it symbolizes for humanity, especially as the world battles the coronavirus pandemic.
That is the sound of the bell of peace rung by the United Nations Secretary General. Traditionally, the bell is rung twice a year, once on the first day of spring to symbolize the harmony of nature and reaffirm the world's commitment to peace and care of the earth. The bell goes off again on the 21st of September to celebrate the International Day of Peace. The whole idea is to bring the global community under the umbrella of unity and harmony.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag.
The United Nations over the years has made it its business to set an agenda to fostering peace and engendering security for the overall good of humanity. This year's theme is predicated on present realities that confront the global community.
At a time when it looks as if the world was going under, the entire world as a result of the pandemic. Now, the idea of shaping peace together is to say, look, humanity is still one. Let's work together to defeat this common enemy, which is like a situation, it draws a scenario of a conflict situation. The pandemic is a conflict. So let the world come together and defeat, the pandemic. And in that process, we are shaping our future together.
The biggest threat to achieving global peace is unresolved conflicts that sometimes leads to violence. And so, silencing the gun and other violent ventures has remained a mandate in the pursuit of peace. It was Philip Randolph who said, "Make war unprofitable and you make it impossible." Apparently, insurgency swims in the deep ocean of corruption.
Usually when you are trying to find insurgency or terrorism, you look for where illicit money is moving. And if you follow the money, you are likely to see where it is funding crime, criminality, and other forms of violence, including insurgency.
Silencing the guns can be achieved with the support of the international community. For instance, why is there such a huge proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Africa? How a continent that does not produce arms as such is saturated, with small arms and light weapons, ammunitions of all sorts.
From all indications, shaping peace goes beyond a talk shop.
The whole essence of Let's Shape Peace Together is to promote inclusion in peacemaking. You can't build peace in isolation. You must build peace with other parties. So other parties must be included. You cannot build peace in Nigeria without women, without children, without the disabled persons, without those who are powerless. You must bring them, you must include them in peacemaking. And that is the only way you can actually achieve sustainable peace, when you include all the stakeholders.
The cost of war usually leads to catastrophic end, while the price of peace binds and heals. The big question we should be asking ourselves is, would you rather drum the beats for war, or you rather sound the bell of peace? You be the judge.
When I get older, I will be stronger, just like a waving flag.
And joining us this week to speak more on the World Peace Day is Tekla Wilke, our NTA Social Desk correspondent. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tessie.
All right, through the ages, humanity has been committed to peace despite the differences in culture and religion. Tell me, why is it so difficult for this peace to be achieved?
Thank you very much for that question. Before we start off, we'll look at the emergence of society. Before the emergence of society, we had a life that was best described in Thomas Hobbes' theory of life being short and brutish. And so there was an agreement of some sort of people in that age to come up with a social contract where you have to give up something, in return for the common good. And so there came the emergence of society. And of course, every society sits on a tripod of social, political, and economic structures. And when you trickle it down, it gets into the religion and the politics you mentioned. And of course, there will always be diverse opinion, diverse ideologies, and this diversity in our thoughts, our ideologies, bring about conflict. You and I are seated here now, and we were discussing this camera, for instance. Your perspective of this camera were very different from mine. And so for us to come together to agree that this camera is what it is, there has to be some kind of discussion, dialogue, and all of that. So yes, there will always be conflict, but how you resolve this conflict matters. Okay. Yes.
Okay, in the face of the coronavirus pandemic, the UN advocates unity as against the virus to promote discrimination or hatred, instead of using the virus, to promote discrimination or hatred. So would you say that they have been able to use the pandemic to promote peace?
Well, to be honest, coronavirus caught the world in her nightgown. Like a thief in the night, coronavirus came in, took us all by surprise, and we're still grappling with the reality it has brought upon us. And so for the global community, coronavirus is a common challenge. It's a challenge that has, harmonized us. We are all binded by this resolution to seek for a permanent solution to this pandemic, to this virus. And so there is this commitment, global commitment. It's not about where you come from. It's not about black race. It's not about, your religion. It's about finding a cure, getting a vaccine. So coronavirus may have its positives as well as its negatives. And the positive is it has somehow harmonized the world.
Okay, looking at away from the coronavirus and all, given the incidences of ethnic crisis, terrorism, farmers, herdsmen clash in Nigeria, what should be the panacea for peace building?
Well, that's a very deep question.
Okay.
You see, there's this South African saying that goes Ubuntu.
Okay.
I am because you are. It's a philosophy that the likes of Nelson Mandela practiced, Desmond Tutu. You think about all these social advocates, freedom fighters. They've always been guided by this principle of Ubuntu. It's a philosophy, actually. And it promotes peace. It promotes understanding. It promotes coexistence. It promotes respect for one another. So to harmonize all of this, if we just key into that principle of Ubuntu, I am because you are. Because you will never endanger yourself. Self-preservation. Once you absorb yourself in a problem, in a challenge, it becomes yours. It's not more of their problem. It is our problem.
Okay.
It also promotes patriotism. It promotes the common good. And that is what we should look at.
Okay.
Yes.
Many thanks, Tekla. I am because you are.
Yes, Ubuntu.
Yes, it is on that Ubuntu note that we conclude this segment of the program. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking peace.
Yes.
We can't get tired of talking peace.
We just need to keep promoting peace, peace in our homes, peace in our environment, peace in our society.
Peace everywhere. Thank you so much for being peaceful too. And still to come, medical practitioners suggest ways of ending the rising cases of suicide. Join us again.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, has been declared by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic. While clinical trials are ongoing for a vaccine and a possible cure, there is no known treatment for the coronavirus. Nigeria has recorded some of these cases, and people are advised to take these preventive measures to keep themselves safe and contain the further spread of the virus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or use hand sanitizers all the time. Maintain social distancing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Practice respiratory hygiene. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Do not panic. Stop the spread of unconfirmed news. Follow the official government news outlets and report all cases immediately. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Welcome back to The Correspondents. Let's bring you an update on flood situation in Rivers State. Communities in flood-prone areas of Rivers State are appealing to the federal government to intensify efforts towards mitigating the impact of flood as the rains keep pouring. But experts have advised people living within coastal communities to consider alternative locations as NEMA leads stakeholders in search of higher grounds. Correspondent Kingsley Amajiri tells us more.
Beside the massive flood forecast, which has Rivers State on its list among high-risk states, flash flood has remained a major challenge to many residents in parts of Port Harcourt.
It beat my imagination that till now we have not seen any proactive measures in Rivers State. That is to say, we are going to face reality.
The IDP camps that are not in the area, in Ahoda West, for example, I have not seen any. But this flooding is an annual event, so that we need to prepare long in advance. It's not a question of a crisis management. By 9 September, we are going to do interactive session now. This is supposed to have been done around March so that people can prepare.
We are in dire need of the presence of the government. Since 2012, nothing. It's like we are not part of the country. Any effort they want to put in place, it cannot be few weeks. We are talking about few weeks. I've observed this thing, this flood coming for a while, since 2012. It comes about last week of September to first week of October, from 8th of October. The last one, I was there watching the flood overtaking my farms. I have a very large fish farm at Kobe, on the East-West Road there. If you pass, you will see it. Watching my fish is being overtaken by flood. It's so painful.
Mboba, Rumaholo, Eneka, Rumibo, and parts of Ada George have often had issues of flooding arising from defective structural construction. Nkem Dike is among the inhabitants of Rumibo Ogologo axis who are already agitated about the flood alert. Their experiences in the past is one they don't want to go through again.
This place is always flooded during rainy season, and people pack out from their building because of flood.
We've always suffered untold hardship each time it is rainy season. Many of the landlords become tenants during rainy season and come back again when it is dry season.
An environmentalist, Associate Professor Vincent Welly, is concerned about the poor town planning system and response rate each time flood occurs.
For us to forestall this from further occurrence, I've always said that the wetlands should not be disturbed any longer. Of course, Port Harcourt is well drained, and so we see no reason why flood will be a problem in the city of Port Harcourt. We have a lot of rivers crisscrossing the entire breadth and length of Port Harcourt. It's just poor planning.
Rivers State NEMA told NTA News that it is consulting with key stakeholders to brace up for any emergency.
Emergency management cycle starts with prevention, preparedness, response, and then rehabilitation. We have been working together, the media here in Port Harcourt. We have started the sensitization program long ago, and now this program here is called to sensitize people for response, that the flood is here. How do we come together to respond in case it overwhelms the communities and the state? We have called some communities, riverine communities. I told them that we, NEMA, we cannot just come there. The local government should be part of the teams. So without that, we cannot just come to those communities, but we try our best. And whenever the local governments and the communities are ready, we always go with our teams to do the necessary assessment.
For those living within the River Niger tributaries, experts have advised they begin to vacate the area for higher grounds.
Indeed, Kingsley, if only Nigerians can heed to professional advice to avoid loss of lives, prevention, they say, is better than cure. Many thanks. To a worrisome trend, talking about suicide. The question is, how can you help prevent or end suicide? To tackle the alarming statistics of deaths by suicide, experts advise family and associates to learn warning signs and show support and encourage people with suicidal tendencies to see mental health professionals promptly. They say if given due attention and care, these people can regain self-worth and live more meaningful life. Correspondent Ifeoma Aikoje tells us more.
According to the World Health Organization, about 1 million people die by suicide every year, and for each suicide executed, there are about 20 failed attempts. These worrisome statistics has continued to raise concerns, especially as the ripple effect of people taking their own lives impacts on families, organizations, and the society at large. Is there really any justifiable reason to commit suicide?
Frustration. When you are in a country where nothing seems to work, you don't have anybody to support you, anybody to encourage you, that alone can, necessitate or can, make you begin to contemplate suicide.
I really don't see a reason why a person would do that.
No matter what happens, you don't have any right to take your life. Life is full of opportunities. If you miss this particular one, there is definitely a situation whereby you will succeed in the other.
As human, we have our limits, we have our boiling points.
Nobody should think about suicide, no matter how hard it is.
All you need to do is come back to God.
However, research have proven that some persons are more at risk of committing suicide, and some risk factors, according to experts, are genetics, drug abuse, psychiatric disorders like depression, and personality problems that result in extreme adverse reactions to negative life events.
For example, someone loses a dear person, and then before you know what is happening, the person is not able to control himself, the person is not able to get out of it. There are people like that, fails an exam, is not really able to, control himself. It's like the whole world is crumbling on the person.
Suicide prevention, they say, should start from recognizing warning signs and seeking medical assistance as soon as possible. Here are some strategies to help people with suicidal tendencies.
To allow these persons to just air their mind and, pour out all the miserableness and hopelessness they feel. And sometimes at the end of the day, they just get a lot better.
For people experiencing suicide ideation, talking to loved ones or support workers, limiting the use of drugs and other substances, and general healthy living may help. If you're contemplating suicide, do you really think that is the best decision? Think again. There might just be a better option if you concentrate more on the positive side of life.
I quite agree with you, Ifoma. It has become, necessary to identify and assist people with mental health issues. People sure need care and attention. Thanks a lot. And that's the correspondence this week. Thanks for watching, and do remember to join us again next week on another edition. You can follow our Twitter handle at FUOLUA NTA correspondence. Don't forget to use the hashtag NTA correspondence whenever you make a comment or ask a question. And a quick reminder that COVID-19 is still with us. The ease of the lockdown does not mean that the coronavirus pandemic is over. Continue to maintain personal hygiene by washing your hands with soap under running water every 20 minutes and abide by the physical and social distancing rules. More importantly, wear a mask. Take responsibility and stay safe. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.
Also known as COVID-19, has been declared by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic. While clinical trials are ongoing for a vaccine and a possible cure, there is no known treatment for the coronavirus. Nigeria has recorded some of these cases, and people are advised to take these preventive measures to keep themselves safe and contain the further spread of the virus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or use hand sanitizers all the time. Maintain social distancing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Practice respiratory hygiene. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Do not panic. Stop the spread of unconfirmed news. Follow the official government news outlets and report all cases immediately. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online, or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
And there's the start.
Promises to share out. It's up that right hand.
Archbishop of basketball, goal! He hung on that net like a stalk up a tree.
NTA Sports 24 brings you all sports, all time and all day. Tune in to watch NTA Sports 24 on Star Times Channel 270, StarSat on Channel 434, and Free TV on Channel 731. NTA Sports 24, where sports thrive.
I am Elizabeth Abai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there, especially on the social media. All it takes is just a click and the fake news goes viral. However, here in NTA, we deal with facts.
My job is to go out there and comb for factual news and information.
Nigerians, including President Buhari, mourn victims of Lokoja tanker fire.
Approval granted for construction of rail line linking Kano to Maradi in the Republic of Niger. Approval granted for construction of rail line linking Kano to Maradi in the Republic of Niger.
President Buhari seeks a truly effective and inclusive response from the United Nations on the coronavirus pandemic.
On Good Morning Nigeria, on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss Nigeria at 60 with focus on national integration.
Is a remarkable milestone for anyone, and this Diamond Jubilee, like the mineral, speaks of tough times that have forged strong bonds. In the case of Nigeria, bonds that may be difficult to break.
A Diamond Jubilee calls for the drums of celebration of achievements, the journey to nationhood, and an opportunity to reflect and learn from challenges.
Since 1960, successful administrations in Nigeria have put in efforts to forge bonds of unity to promote nationalism and patriotism. These efforts have helped curb micro-loyalties that jeopardize national interests and promote national goals and aspirations.
Some of these efforts include frequent judicial reforms, equal representation of the National Assembly, National Youth Service Corps, the establishment of federal government schools, the federal character principle, national symbols, sports, cultural festivals, and many others.
Now, despite these targeted programs aimed at enhancing national integration to further harness the great potentials inherent in Nigeria, some challenges have in subtle and sometimes indirect ways hampered these efforts.
Yes, Juma, issues such as ethnic coloration to almost all areas of national life, population-related issues such as arguments over revenue allocation formula, religious intolerance, and many others.
And experts are seeking better appreciation of the diversity or interdependence of all members of the Nigerian society. They also advocate the promotion of values such as honesty, integrity, fairness, hard work, and justice.
Yeah, 60 years into nationhood, how has Africa's largest economy fared in the area of national integration? What lessons have been learned in this journey, and how much more can be done to further strengthen bonds of unity?
We have guests with us to discuss these issues as we begin our series to mark Nigeria's 60th anniversary. We'll also take a look at another critical issue, this time in the maritime industry, sustainable shipping in Nigeria and its impact on the economy as the World Maritime Day is marked today. This is our second topic for the day. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Juma Yusuf. Thanks so much for joining us.
And I am Yusuf Dadabu Usman. Join my colleague Jumarada, joining my colleague that is to welcome you to the program. It is broadcast on the network service of the NTA live from our studios here in Abuja. We will begin shortly with highlights of the morning news with Comfort Amadou. Business news will follow thereafter, and then much later we will review the newspapers. Let's join our colleague Comfort in the news studio for the morning news.
Good morning, and here's the morning highlight news. Now, reactions has trailed the Lokoja petrol tanker incident, which left 25 persons dead and others seriously injured on Wednesday morning. President Muhammadu Buhari describing it as another disturbing and saddening incident in the litany of tragedies that have befallen the country. He further adds that many incidents are preventable if proper proactive and precautionary measures are put in place for properly observed as routine policies. Meanwhile, Minister for Women Affairs Pauline Talon has described the tanker explosion at Lokoja that claimed the lives, mostly of whom are children, at Kogi Polytechnic as the worst tragedy in recent times. The minister, while condoling the people and government of Kogi State over the unfortunate incident, hopes that proactive measures will be put in place to avert future occurrences. In the same vein, the governor of the state, Governor Yahaya Bello, expressing his deepest condolences to the families of the affected person, urged the students of Kogi State Polytechnic to remain calm and peaceful, adding that he equally shares in their grieving moment over the death of their colleagues. And President Muhammadu Buhari says if the United Nations cannot mobilize the world to marshal out a truly effective and inclusive response to coronavirus pandemic, it would have failed in its core mission of giving direction and solution to the yearnings of the international community. In his virtual address to the general debate of the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly, the President maintains that the global community not only look up to the United Nations but count on the organization while reflecting on the future it wants.
The future we want must guarantee human rights, human dignity, human prospects, and prosperity. The principles of leaving no one behind and doing no harm must be expressed through accountability, strategic growth initiatives, and elimination of threats of all kinds.
And President Muhammadu Buhari will Thursday depart Abuja for Bissau to attend ceremonies celebrating the National Day of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, September 24th. The President will join the heads of state and government of Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, Mauritania, Togo, and Liberia to mark the 47th independence anniversary of Guinea-Bissau. In Bissau, President Buhari will also commission a road named in his honor by the host government. The Nigerian leader and other invited heads of state will attend an official lunch hosted by President Umaru Sissoco Embalo of Guinea-Bissau. Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau established diplomatic relations in 1974. Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council has approved over $1.9 billion for the construction of a rail line linking Kano to Maradi in the Republic of Niger. The Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, announced this while briefing journalists after the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
So this is to sort out if problems of accident on the track, and it's for a total cost of 3,049,544,000 naira.
Flood waters have wreaked havoc in riverine communities in Borgu local government area of Niger State. The incident, which occurred along the river Niger in Borgu local government, has claimed lives and washed away farmlands. And our latest figures from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC indicates that there are 111 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 57,724. And the breakdown of the 111 new cases: Lagos has 31, Gombe and Kaduna 18 each, the FCT has 15, Rivers 14, Imo and Kwara and Oyo recorded 3 cases each. Bayelsa and Ogun have 2 each, while Edo and Osun states confirmed 1 case each. In the overall cases per state chart, Lagos now has 19,086 cases. The FCT has 5,598, while Plateau has 3,304 total cases. There are now 7,637 active COVID-19 cases with 48,985 patients discharged and 1,102 deaths on record. That's the morning news. The program continues with Jumei and Yusuf after this break.
The chairman, Interministerial Committee for the celebration of Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, invites you to the following events. Thursday, 24th September, World Press Conference venue, Obasanjo Hall, Federal Secretariat, Phase 2, time 11 a.m. Friday, 25th, public lecture, venue, National Mosque Conference Hall, time 10 a.m. Special Jumat prayers, 1 p.m. at the same venue. Sunday, 27th, Interdenominational Church Service, National Christian Center, Abuja, time 3 p.m. Members of the public can join the church service virtually by logging on to the YouTube channel of the OSGF at Official OSGF NG. Monday 28, launch of the National Ethics and Integrity Policy as well as Integrity Award by Mr. President to commemorate the 20th anniversary of ICPC. Venue, State House, Presidential Villa, Abuja, time 10 a.m. Historical exhibition, National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja, 3 p.m. Thursday, October 1st, Guard of Honor Anniversary Parade, Eagle Square, Abuja, time 10 a.m. Anniversary theme, Together. Please note, these events are strictly by invitation and all COVID-19 protocols will be adhered to. Chairman, Media and Publicity Subcommittee, Announcer.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19. A corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 22 55 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1, the delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water. Yes, that's the painful effect of what corruption costs you. But what does corruption cost us all? Watch Bad Guys on NTA Network, 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. every Wednesday from the Akin Fadeyi Foundation. Bad Guys. Who are the bad guys? Join us.
As Nigeria works on a new national development plan, a new impetus is being given to implementation, monitoring and evaluation of government policies and plans. Chimobi Walter in Nigeria has more on business news.
Coming at a time when national planning and budgeting in Nigeria was the talk of town, the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clem Ikanade Agba, while speaking on his 1 year in office, noted that the ministry is focusing on 3 key areas, which include working on a national development plan, returning the budget cycle to a 1-year plan of January to December, and ensuring proper monitoring and evaluation of government programs and policies. The monitoring and evaluation will include the inauguration of a self-reporting mobile app for tracking implementation process of government contracts around the country.
Department and ensure that we have an app that gets us engaged with our citizens to give us reports, to tell us where we are doing well and where we are not doing well. Where we are doing well, we will reinforce those, and the areas where we are not doing well, we'll find out what is going wrong and then fix it. We are also engaging members of the private sector to harness revenues for impact investment.
Meanwhile, here is an analysis of closing figures at the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji.
Well, thank you so much, Chimobi. Next for us on the program is the newspaper review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo to be in the studio. Good morning, Bayo.
Thank you, Jumi. Good morning.
Lovely
Good
weather
morning.
this morning.
Thank you. Yes. Good morning, Nenadabo.
Good morning, Bayo. Welcome.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you.
So, Bayo, we'll begin with the Nation newspaper this morning. And just above the masthead, we have 37 billion refund missing under Yari, says Zamfara State Government. You find details of that on page 4. Nigeria. 13 die as flood hits Bauchi, Jigawa and Niger states. With a rider, 3,500 houses destroyed. You find details of that on page 6. FEC OK's 1.96 billion for Nigeria-Niger rail project. Details on page 5. Obasanjo orders rain tributes on Emir of Zauzau. You find details on page 6. And just below the masthead, we see Ondo 2020, INEC replaces burnt card readers. Commissioner orders join ZLP. Ajayi, APC clash over attack on campaign office. Deputy Governor's aide joins APC. These are more on page 3. And the bold headlines on the Nation newspaper: petrol, electricity, labor least condition to halt strike. With a rider, government, NLC, TUC meet today. Governors to parley, mobilization continues. Police dismiss IPOP October 1 seat at home. You find details on page 5. Court faults Buhari on judge's appointment. Details on page 4. And the unfortunate tanker accident yesterday in Kogi State. 25 died in Kogi tanker fire. 3 kids, 5 poly students involved. 5 cars, 3 tricycles, 2 bikes burnt. You can see the picture there showing the incident that happened yesterday in the morning. And at the bottom plate of the Nation newspaper, Niger Delta will resist water resources bill, says on dead SS page. That's the info is on page 5. And Buni meets Ize Iyamo. Details on page 4. Yusuf?
Well, the Nigerian pilot, which is celebrating 10 years of journalism, has the stories on page 5. Fake, that is, Federal Executive Council approves 1.96 billion naira, billion dollars, that is, rail contract from Kano to Niger Republic. Also, federal government approves NUC's request on immediate resumption of varsities, that's universities. The bottom down, the final on page 5 still, federal government moves to avert strike as it parleys labor today. And on page 6, Edo APC blames Guba Luz on Oshomole's irresponsible leadership. And still on page 5, federal government to assist over 500,000 MSMEs, 333,000 artisans with 75 billion naira. On page 6, you are a stranger in APC court, that is, Buhari's ex-aide tells Governor Uzodinma, and still on the same page, that is page 6, Buhari adding judge's appointment, says the court. Boldly here, the main story here is the Kogi tragedy, which has riders of around 4 of them. One is saying that 30 people perished in Kogi tanker explosion. Man, wife, 3 children died in the accident. And Nazari primary school pupils, 5 Kogi police students involved. And finally, it has as a rider that it's worst tragedy Kogi has witnessed in recent time. That's Governor Bello. And the pictures there are really graphic, looking how sad the event is. That's the Nigerian pilot. Bayo?
Yes, indeed. Very sad.
Very sad. We remember last week, I think it was on Tuesday, we were discussing
talking about tanker.
Yes.
And the accident that has been happening.
Yes.
And incidentally, this one too, the tanker was said to have suffered a brake failure. And in the process, it rammed into 5 cars, 2 motorcycles, 3 tricycles, and then burst into flames. So all the people there were trapped. And you will be shocked that some papers are even reporting 30 persons there, but the Federal Road Safety Commission and the emergency people reported 25 days. And among them, sadly, you have students of Kogi State Polytechnic, 5 students of Kogi State Polytechnic. There were also 3 nursery pupils who probably have closed from school and were going. And a businessman, his own is even worse. The businessman, his wife, and 3 children were all killed in that inferno. Governor Yahya Bello's deputy visited, and the governor's wife visited the scene immediately. And Governor Yahya Bello has described it as the greatest tragedy that has ever befallen Kogi. He has condoled the families of those who were affected, and he said he takes pains of all those who are affected and has urged students of the State Polytechnic to remain calm because something will be done about that highway particularly. It's not the first time it's been happening at that Felele area. President Muhammadu Buhari has also expressed shock and sorrow, describing the accident as saddening among the litany of tragedies that have befallen our country. The president spokesman, Garba Shehu, was very instructive. He said, these frequent incidents that result in loss of lives and property are national scandals caused by our indifference to safety standards. He says many such accidents are preventable if proper proactive and precautionary measures are observed routinely. You see, people don't maintain their vehicles. You are carrying highly inflammable liquid in the tanker and on the highway, and then your brake fails.
And that even brings to note the issue of these roads and the usage of the roads by the road users too. Having, carrying such a very inflammable commodity liquid, and rushing into the main town or village or whatever it is, there should be some kind of allocation made for them, maybe at the bypass outside the town or whatever, to avoid this kind of thing.
That was what NATO protested against, was it?
Yes, NATO was protesting about the fact that they were now limiting the weight to 30,000 liters.
Yes.
And they have tankers that can cover more than 45,000 liters. And they were thinking that their investment were going to be in danger. But if you recall, not too long ago, Lagos State specifically make that initiative to say that because of such accidents, tanker movement will be restricted to certain hours of the day. So that at least you don't come during rush hour where there are so many traffic and people on the highway and you have such an incident happening. This has been happening across the country. There was a dangerous one, a massive one that happened in Benue, and several times it has happened in Anambra, in Lagos, and now Lokoja, Kogi State.
Okay, let's now
very sad.
Continue.
There's this other story that papers are reporting about $1.9 million of rail line from Kano, from Nigeria to Niger.
Okay.
Actually, it's an extension of the rail line linking Kano to Jigawa. It will touch Kazauri and link Katsina State, linking Daura and Jibia, and will end in Maradi. The initiative is to use it to evacuate crude oil from Niger for a refinery that is supposed to be built at the border town. You know that one of the vagaries that we have suffered in this country, particularly about fuel and petrol, is that most of the petrol that is produced in this country get smuggled across the border. And therefore, when you have a refinery at the border town, that refinery will service not only our own country, but can also be sold across the country and will generate revenue for Nigeria and will go a long way to stemming this incessant smuggling of petroleum products that is becoming a bane on the country. And there's also the initiative to also acquire a crane. We are now trying to establish our rail system. You recall that just about 2 weeks ago, there was an accident where a train ran across 2 trucks. It took a long time before they were able to evacuate. But if we had a crane that is mounted on the train, it will be easy to handle such accidents. And that is why that has been. The other interesting story relates to the ultimatum given by the Nigeria Labour Congress and TUC. The federal government and Labour are expected to meet today. But there are developments related to that. NLC Joe Ajero says that, well, when you are invited to a meeting, you go there, and if something is put on the table, if that is put on the table meets your expectation, then the demand, you agree with them, and then you can call off their strike. But if the demand is not met, they are prone on going on with the strike. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has said that continuous dialogue is the necessary and need to be emphasized. And he has warned that shutting down the nation is going to hurt all of us. Yes. Nobody is going to benefit from it. In fact, it's Nigerians that will actually lose. And there is an Ijaw forward movement in Port Harcourt. They made a very interesting revelation. They made a statement. Their leader, Alfred Kenneth Dado, says that the NLC should have known in the year 2012, when petrol was 97 naira, and they called for a shutdown. But they didn't put pressure on government to do anything. And it was obvious that we could not continue with subsidy. And that is why it has grown to the level it is. And the IFM is saying that rather than threaten government and twist government, the NLC should put pressure on the federal government to ensure that they fix refineries, they give incentive tax holidays and grants to people to establish modular refineries so that we will be able to refine petrol and have sufficiency of petrol in the country, and if possible, export some. One of those initiatives is the refinery that is to be built at the border town of Jibia in Katsina State. He says if Labour is waiting for government to decision to negotiate so that they will benefit from it, at the end of the day, the masses that Labour is trying to protect will be the one that will lose, because if you shut down the economy, all of us are going to suffer.
Well,
the Governors Forum too are also putting in a voice to ensure that
everybody is doing that. Really.
Yes.
Everybody is just putting pressure on both parties to see that they sit their sword and they have this strike about it, because it's not going to be in anybody's interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Bayo, Thank you so
Thank you
much
too.
for the review this morning. It's
All
been a
right.
pleasure having you as always. We'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation on national integration will begin.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Nigeria is a rich nation of green land, rich resources, countless crops and commodities sufficient to feed and provide a means of livelihood for her teeming population. Chin up, Nigeria, the giant of Africa. Exciting times are here. We can be self-reliant and grow our economy if we work together to explore our potential. It takes a whole nation. Let us get involved. Buy Nigerian to grow Nigeria.
Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth. If the sensitivity is left alone, it may get worse. Dentists recommend Sensodyne. It's able to calm the nerve of the tooth. The proof's in the results. It works. Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth. If the sensitivity is left alone, it may get worse. Dentists recommend Sensodyne. It's able to calm the nerve of the tooth. The proof's in the results. It works.
NTA TV College Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, is currently admitting students for its ordinary diploma programs in television journalism, television production, and television engineering. Interested candidates are advised to obtain relevant information concerning eligibility at our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. For further information, contact Assistant Director, Marketing, NTA TV College Jos on 0803-314-4383 or the Academic Office of the College on 0806-980-9807. Announcer, Registrar.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
You're welcome back, and now to our first conversation today. Nigeria is 60, and this brings to the fore many issues, including national integration. We have several guests with us to speak on this issue. Joining us in our Abuja studio is a former ambassador to Switzerland and the Principality of Liechtenstein and permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations Office and other international organizations in Geneva, Dr. Umana Humphrey Ojiako. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you join us. And we also have Professor Mohammed Musali Jibrin. He is the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Federal University of Lafia, Nasarawa State. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, sir.
Thank you.
And still joining us here in Abuja is Professor Osaremian Osumbo. He is a former governor of Edo State. Good to have you on the program, sir.
Good morning.
And joining us from our Ibadan studio is a veteran broadcaster and an Ibadan High Chief Oloye Lekon Alabi, and thanks for joining us from Ibadan, Oloye.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. Now, we're looking at a Diamond Jubilee. We're celebrating our 60th years of independence. Can you tell us, 60 years into nationhood, how would you access national integration in Nigeria as it is today?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this really very important program because the whole world is looking at Nigeria. The world that is looking at Nigeria most is the black world that always expected that if the black man has to break through in the global community, it would have to be the Nigerian man. It would have to be Nigeria as a country. Now, this world is looking at us. This is our 60th birthday, so to speak. October 1st, 1960, Nigeria happened on the world with a lot of promise, and that promise was good. The founding fathers of Nigeria, by that I mean those who started the struggle for independence from Great Britain, they were not joking. They were young people, very young people. When we hear those names today, Herbert Macaulay, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Sardauna Sokoto, some people tend to think that these were people in their 70s and 80s. These were young people in their 20s and 30s who were really struggling, who understood what Nigeria could mean to the world. And they gave their all, they gave their youth, they gave their talents to this struggle. And they got that independence for Nigeria after a very long conversation and negotiations in Lancaster House in London. Nigeria's independence wasn't an accident, as some people tend to think. It was not something that was given on a platter of gold, as some people say. It was something that was negotiated. It was agreed on the principles. But one thing that has happened over the time is people thinking that once that agreement was reached, it was the final thing about what Nigeria would be. No, no society is static. Time goes, changes occur, and countries and humans adjust along with those. So in the case of Nigeria's integration, a country made up easily probably more than 500 different ethnic groups, some big, some small, some in the middle, somewhere. It is a complex country to put together because we tend to underrate culture and the effect and impact it has on human society and the growth of nations. It is very important that we bear in mind that Nigeria has cause to celebrate. Despite all the difficulties, despite all the hard road we have traveled all through these past 60 years, Nigeria has still cause to celebrate. And the reason is simple. We're still here. We're still here. And there are those who thought that Nigeria would not make it. Those prescriptions or predictions have come so many times in our history. One could remember when we were children in the 1960s going to school, when some soldiers who thought they could command change, as in creation, let there be a wonderful country and there will be a wonderful, it didn't happen. And then it led to a civil war. And that civil war was an occasion when the whole world said, oh, the dream has come asunder. But Nigeria came through that and gave the world something that hadn't really been common in global history. That was no victor, no vanquished. Even though there was a bitter civil war that lasted for almost 3 years, yet it ended on that note. And Nigeria continued through a series of military interventions and all of that, which brings instability and therefore leaves people thinking, oh, this is going to break at some point. Yet we are here. Yet
we're talking national integration, really, and of course we shall be talking much more about this in the course of the program. Professor Muzali, your opening, words on your assessment, therefore, on national integration in this country.
Yes, well, I think we've made tremendous progress. Before the amalgamation, before colonialism, we did exist as autonomous communities, but the ones that were contiguous to each other did interact. For example, in the north, there was interaction with the Yorubas long before colonialism. In places like Benue, the interaction between the Igbos and the Idomas, intermarriage, trade, and so on. So there were contacts. But at the level of the educated elite, it was only in 1947 when the Legislative Assembly met in Lagos for the first time with representatives from every region that educated Northerners came face to face for the first time with educated Southerners. And of course, they had very different orientations, and they were strangers to one another. So even at independence in 1960, we really were not properly integrated. Hence, the policies that were introduced later by several governments, for example, the National Youth Service Corps, it had as a key objective the acceleration of national integration. Also before then, the establishment of federal government colleges all over the country to bring young people together so that they could integrate as we could integrate as a nation better. And several other schemes and programs that were introduced over the decades to accelerate national integration. And I think we have gone a long way. We still haven't got it all sorted out together. It takes centuries to do that, but we have made some progress.
We're on the way, really.
I think so.
Professor Osumbo, what can you say about this? Your assessment, really.
Well, we're talking about Nigeria at 60.
Yeah.
And a few weeks from now, we'll be celebrating or marking the anniversary, 60th anniversary of Nigeria's independence. I think that is a big milestone. First, we are discussing Nigeria 60 within the context of national integration.
Yeah.
I'm sure Nigeria at 60, there are other issues that can come up.
Really.
Yes, for discussion. So to put it in proper context, I would say, what really are we talking about when we say national integration? What is national integration? It is forging that feeling of oneness and togetherness amongst the people in the country, irrespective of differences, whether it's geographical, north or south, east or west, or whether it's in terms of religion, in terms of culture, in terms of language, and the effort, despite these differences, to forge oneness, unity, so that the people can see themselves as one and operate as one. Because, as they say, the united we stand, divided we fall. So the essence and purpose of integration, national integration, is to bring us together so that we can operate as one. And I agree with the speakers who have spoken before me that if you look back to history, you will find that Nigeria has indeed come a very long way. The British people that brought Nigeria into being as a country, as a modern entity, as it were, brought so many disparate groups, autonomous communities, and even kingdoms, diverse people were forged together and amalgamated in 1914 to become what today we call Nigeria, which got its independence on the 1st of October 1960. If you cast your mind back at where we are coming from, you will agree, you will have no reason to dispute the fact that a lot has been achieved. Before independence, one of the great elder statesmen of Nigeria said about 1947 that Nigeria is just a geographical expression.
How so?
Sorry?
How so?
You see?
Can you talk more on geographical expression?
No, he says, no, I am saying that may have been so.
Yes.
In 1947, Nigeria had not attained her independence in 1947 when that elder statesman said Nigeria is a mere geographical expression. Okay. Sometimes, these days, people still refer to that statement then, that there's no hope, there's no future for Nigeria because it is a mere geographical expression. But times have changed. When that remark was made in 1947, Nigeria had not attained independence. And even the statesman that made that statement later on appreciated Nigeria and even tried to become the president of Nigeria. He was convinced in later years that Nigeria was not just a geographical expression.
Okay.
So if we look at, there were other statesmen that made similar remarks that, oh, we are wasting our time, Nigeria will never be one. There were such statements that were made. Or the earlier we divide ourselves, the better. Because the differences amongst us are so intense, so diverse, so deep-rooted, that it's a waste of time. And the earlier we divided ourselves, the better. Those statements were made by great Nigerians that we look up to. I don't want to go into the
and we're still here as a nation.
We are still here as a nation. We are forging ahead. And Professor Muzali Jibril has cited examples, illustrations of what successive governments have done to forge that oneness, that feeling of togetherness amongst us Nigerians. And here we are today celebrating, or soon to celebrate, our 60th independence anniversary.
Professor Osumbo, we've discussed about this with you one or two times on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's now join a veteran broadcaster and an Ibadan High Chief, Oloyelekan Alabi. 60 years of nationhood, just like the diamond will forge through fire. You know, we face challenges and achievements, but has that in a way tightened the bond of integration in Nigeria?
Again for inviting me. First, I wish to sympathize with the families, relations of the victims of the Lokoja tanker disaster. May their souls rest in peace. And as you said, while reviewing your news stories, regular mechanical checks must be carried out on all vehicles plying Nigeria's road. Just imagine brake failure and innocent lives were crushed, burnt to death. I'm so sorry. May their souls rest in peace. I'm going to express the opinions of two nationalists on this program because they are my political heroes. One, Adegoke Adelabu, the first Nigerian Minister of Social Development, Adegoke Adelabu Ilyas Kwenkelemes, and the Sadana of Sokoto, Sir Ahmadu Bello, former Premier of Northern Region. Nigeria is 60. When Nigeria got independence on October 1st, 1960, I was a 10-year-old primary 3 pupil in Ibadan, and I attended the march past at the former Liberty Stadium, now Obafemi Awolowo Stadium. Adegoke Adelabu published this book in 1952, Africa in Evolution, with a foreword by his political leader, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. So at each point of this conversation, you'll be hearing my voice, but you'll be hearing the opinions and philosophies of Adegoke Adelabu and Sir Ahmadu Bello. Now, first take from Adelabu's book. I read. I want a career open to talent. I want opportunities based on merit. I want the son of the Junkun farmer in Benue province, the son of the Fulani herdsman in Sokoto, the son of a cocoa plantation laborer in Ibadan, the son of a railway porter at Enugu, as well as the second sons of their highnesses, the Emir of Katsina, the Oni of Ife, and the Obi of Onitsha, to stand an equal chance of succeeding Dr. Melambi as the next principal of Ibadan University College. Such a career is open to talent in America. Such a career is open to talent in England. Such a career is open to talent in Germany. We shall labor without respite until such a career is open to talent in our own Nigeria. 1952, 8 years before independence, now 60 years after independence. Will Adelabu not turn in his grave? Thank you.
That's a real big question there. Would I say it's $1 million question, if possible? How would you react to that question?
Indeed. Honestly, I think that is the crux of Nigeria's national integration project. That was the dream, and it was well articulated by those people. That's why I said at the beginning that they knew where they were going. I can relate to the statement Prof made moments ago about Obafemi Awolowo made that statement that 47 Nigeria was a mere geographical expression. But even before him, Tafawa Balewa, who became our prime minister, had made a similar statement, probably not in such a catchphrase as I will put it. So,
a subtle way.
Exactly. It was more subtle, but he made the same statement. Now, that is the struggle. How do you weld these peoples together? That son of a cocoa farmer in Ondo State, the gentleman in Jigawa State, the son of a carpenter in Onitsha and so on. How do you bring them together to wield a nation? That is the challenge of Nigeria. That was the challenge in 1950, 52, 53, when the actual first real election on a regional basis took place in Nigeria, when it was said that NCNC had won an election in Ibadan, and the head of the NCNC could not be allowed to become a premier of Western Nigeria. I have a book I published a couple of years ago after I came back from Geneva as Palm Rep of Nigeria, and this was specifically an issue then. If Nigeria was a mere geographical expression in 1947-48, and in 1952-53, somebody from across the River Niger came to Ibadan to be premier, have we done the weird and first? Had the homework already been done? And these agreements were read before you could achieve that. I think we're still on that struggle today. Adelabu mentioned what happens in the UK and in the United States. Remember that Mrs. Hillary Clinton was the wife of a president who came from Arkansas. After their presidential run, she became a senator from New York State, so far away from the South. New York is in the north. Arkansas is in the south. But that could happen. That was the kind of dream our founding fathers had. I recall that in the days, there was someone called Malam Altine. He was the first mayor, if I'm correct, of Enugu. Altine definitely was a Fulani man from so something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm calling him the way the British obviously called him. So you could see things like that, and you could see the movement of people from the south, what we call Eastern region then, moving into the north in droves, and everybody tended to start blending. You could go to Ibadan and wonder who even owns Ibadan. Those were the kind of dreams that Nigeria, its founding fathers had, that they could build such a nation. But there was a reality check also. Probably it was the neglect of that reality check that is leading us to the difficulties we are still having 60 years after to build. That is that de-recognition of the differences, which his hero again, Ahmadu Bello, actually articulated properly. Maybe people misunderstood it if you do beer parlor analysis. You say, what is this man talking about? He was saying, yes, Nnamdi Azikiwe, I understand what you're saying. We shouldn't forget our differences. We should try to understand our differences so we know how to deal with them. So Zeke was saying, let's forget our differences and build one united, solid Nigeria. He said that sounded beautiful, However, if you forget your differences, you will never be able to then build that united country that we are looking for. So I think the assignment for the leadership of Nigeria today at every level, not just at the federal level, is to find that formula that begins to rewield Nigerians together, to understand, to see a common destiny, to see that we are walking in the same direction to reach a common destination. Building a nation, as the professor said, is not a 20 or 60-year program. It's a centuries-year-old program.
It's a lifetime program.
It's something continuous. For as man evolves, you have to make changes. So.
Okay, Dr. Omona, thank you so much for your input. Professor Sumbo, 1960, Nigeria started on a parliamentary system of government. Along the way, we joined the presidential system of government. What can you say the political class has sort of played a role? What role have they played in the integration of this country?
Well, you started by talking about the parliamentary system and the presidential system.
Democracy.
Well, what I can say first, taking off from the last point, which was made by Doctor, is that national integration is a continuous process whereby the leaders will continue to work and rework the system to make it better. Because no country has achieved complete integration. There will be little differences. Maybe in some cases it's more glaring than others. But it's a continuous process of improvement of the relationship between the people that make up the country. And within that context, the Nigerian leadership, political leadership, over time, right from even the 1914 that we talk about, if not well before, by the colonial people, have tried to design a system that makes for good governance. And because it's, again, about good governance. If there's good governance, then it's easy to integrate the people. And that led to the series of constitutions that we've had from 1922 and up to the 1960, when we got our independence, and we started off with a parliamentary system. Of course, in 1963, we became a republic, but still continued under the 1963 constitution with a parliamentary system of government. But that lasted only 2.5 years before it collapsed. And therefore, the government at that time decided to set up, it was initially 50 wise men committee, but because Chief Awolowo declined membership, it was now 49 member committee to fashion out a new constitution in the light of the failings of the 1963 constitution that had in place the parliamentary system of government. And the 49 wise men, in their wisdom, recommended the adoption of the presidential system. People still continue to talk about whether we should go back to a parliamentary system or whether the presidential system is better. But my response to that is always that the wise men who looked at history, looked at our experiences, came to the conclusion that the presidential system was better. I am not saying that those 49 wise men were infallible. They may have made a mistake, but time has proved, in my own opinion, that the presidential system is better. Mind you, I said that the parliamentary system worked only 2.5 years before it collapsed. And thankfully, we have now operated a presidential system for about 20 years. So there must be something which the presidential system offers, which was lacking in the parliamentary system, which has ensured that the continuous democratic governance has succeeded. It's not that there are no problems. As I said, no society, no country is perfect. Yeah. But whenever the challenges are identified, the responsibility of the political leadership is to drive the process for the improvement and remedying the defects that have been identified. And the best way to do that, again, is to begin to implement the ingredients of good governance. And good governance is not just about one person, about president or governor or whatever. It's an integrated process, again, to use that word, integration. So it's something that we have to continuously work at. And so far, in my view, we've made a lot of progress, although not to the extent that many Nigerians would have wished.
Yes.
But it is our responsibility to begin to identify the weaknesses, identify where we went wrong, and improve and consolidate on the process. It is we Nigerians that will do it, not somebody else.
Yeah, Prof, that was a good assessment, really. But looking at the whole scenario, when we look at Nigeria as an entity, we seem to a little bit tilt to the fact that what the founding fathers were saying were almost true, and of course what have taken place all through the years have come to prove that one not as true too. You may find today when you go to Yola, for instance, a lot of people, businessmen, and become part of that place, go to Kano, get down to Onitsha, and get down to Lagos. The mixture is there. But still, there are ethnic colorations here and there, and some patches of differences, as earlier pointed out by our founding fathers. Professor Munzali Jibrin, how would you react to this integration at this level vis-a-vis what our founding fathers were saying? Are we really above board?
Yeah, well, the truth is we've made tremendous progress in achieving integration. And the political elite have contributed greatly to that process of integration. You may recall that in the First Republic, for example, the present Niger Delta, most of it, I mean, if you take away Delta State, the minorities there were members of the Northern People's Congress and stood election as members of NPC to the regional parliament and also to the federal parliament in Lagos. There were also instances whereby somebody like Ibrahim Imam, who was a Bonu Youth Movement leader, therefore an opposition leader opposed to NPC, was prevented from standing for election in Borno, and Chief J.S. Taka of the Middle Belt Congress invited him to Tivland, and he was offered a ticket of the Middle Belt Congress, upon which he was elected to the parliament. So, you know, there were instances of that where politicians showed a lot of solidarity with one another across the length and breadth of this country. Even now, it is happening, because if you look at the political parties, they are also an example of national integration, because it used to be that a party would be predominantly drawing its support from one part of the country or the other, but now you can see that it's really mixed. So I believe that we have made tremendous progress, but as has been stated earlier, the process is a very long one. When we look at nations like the United Kingdom, these are countries that are more than 1,000 years old, and they are still evolving because there are still tensions between the Welsh, the Scottish, and the English, and then the Irish. So it is still incomplete. Even in monocultural, monolingual countries like France, there are still other tensions. They may not be ethnic, they could be ideological or having to do with social class.
Okay. Well, Prof, that was a good assessment too, but truly speaking, it seems as if we're still yet to get, or rather hit the nail on the head, given the fact that you gave some examples earlier on, NYSC, federal government colleges and things like that, were efforts being put in place or made by our leaders in order to see to it that the integration, gets stronger, especially after the Civil War. Let me get down to our Oga, I would say, in course, the veteran broadcaster and the Ibadan High Chief, Oloyele Lekan Alabi. Let's have your assessment. Having seen all this as a journalist, having written about them most especially, and not really, appraising them, how far have we gone in trying to, rid this country of ethnic coloration, cultural coloration, and religious coloration?
Very much. The ambassador has taken part of the values why Sir Ahmadu Bello is my foremost nationalist. What Sir Ahmadu Bello was saying over 60 years ago is what is now re-echoing among civil rights groups, the minority groups, and that is Sir Ahmadu Bello was telling his colleagues, hello, let us identify our differences. After identification, then we can integrate and then take independence. But they were telling him, no, let's take independence first. Thank you. Then I go to the assertion that Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe across the Niger was denied the premiership of Western Region. No. Thank you. We were running a parliamentary system of government which they still operate in England, whereby after any general election, the majority party gets the nod of the king or the queen to form a government. There were three major parties in Western Region. The Action Group, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The NCNC, led by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, of which Adegoke Adelabu was the vice president, and my paternal grandmother, the woman leader. I might be young, but I saw and I was told everything that happened. The third party was the Ibadan People's Party, led by Olola Muyo Aboderin, the older brother of Chief Olu Aboderin, founder of the Punch. When the election was taken in the Western House of Assembly, neither the Action Group nor the NCNC got a majority vote. So as they do in England today, the two parties needed the support of the third party. Like the Conservative or the Labour will always run to Lib Dem, Liberal Democracy Party in England, or any other party, because there are over 20 political parties in England. So Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe and his team met with the IPP. And the leaders of IPP were, as I said, Olola Muyo Aboderin, our former Olubadan of Ibadan land, because he later became Olubadan. And that was, as he was then, Mr. D.T. Akinbiyi, Chief AMA Akiloye, Adegoke Adelabu, El Adebello, that they should please cross over to their party and they will form a government coalition. They had him out. Chief Obafemi Awolowo led his own team again to the IPP, offering the same position. So in their wisdom, the IPP chose Action Group. That's why Chief A. Akinloye became Minister of Agriculture in that government. Adegoke Adelabu, the true nationalist that he was, refused to follow IPP to the Action Group. So he stayed with Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, NCNC. That's why he got the slot as Minister of Social Development, and later became the leader of opposition in Western Region House of Assembly. So you could see that our nationalists were realists. Now, this is what Adelabu said about political parties. He said, there is so much loose talk these days, these past few years in the press, the pulpit, and public gallery of this or that Nigerian political party that I'm constrained to ask, have we any genuine political parties in Nigeria today? 1952. This is 2020. My answer is an unqualified no. A political party, as it is popularly misconceived, is not an agglomeration of persons. That's what we have in Nigeria. Identification with personalities. Jump from one party to jump to another party without considering ideology. Only that is a crowd. And it is not a crowd acting together. They may be a club or a society. So what is a party? To Adegoke Adelabu, he said, the distinguishing characteristics of a genuine political party are in the generic words, idea, ideal, and ideology. In the beginning is an idea. Following is the next logical development of that idea becoming the ideal among its kind in the mind of the adherent followers. Coming as the third step is that idea so permeating every aspect of the believer's life that it becomes his particular system of thought, his ideology, compelling the edifice and ending up the series when an ideology dominates the lives of people.
Inspiring statements, Oloelekan Alabi. They really give us some sort of food for thought when we look back into who our leaders were. But the fact still remains that we are not fully integrated, and that's just it. The issue now at stake is how far have all the policies and the actions of the previous governments and even now gone in trying to further strengthen that integration? Briefly, can you just talk about that without getting or making recourse to history?
If the founding fathers' ideals had been followed, that is, getting the right candidate, it was the parties, the political parties that chose candidates internally. And they published the posters, and they will put the logo of their party on top and say, vote for X party, and they put the candidate. So our nationalists really practiced what is the ideal as it is done all over the world. Today, parties have been personalized. Or else, why would Sir Ahmadu Bello, the leader of the Northern People's Congress, cede prime ministership to Alhaji Tafawa Balewa? Will any Nigerian leader do that these days? So, integration, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo working with Ikoku, G.S. Taka, and all that. Ideology. Let them please remove personalities and self-interest in political parties. As Adelabu said, idea, ideal, ideology. So you look at the right candidate. It's the executive that must choose candidates. Why did they choose Alhaji Shehu Shagari as the presidential candidate of Northern People's, Nigerian People's, NPN, National Party of Nigeria? Alhaji Shagari wanted to go to the Senate, but the executive of NPN saw in him a fit candidate for Nigeria's presidency, and he got it. Thank you.
High Priest Chief Oloye, thank you so much for your contribution. We'll come back now to Abuja. Professor Osumbo, he has outlined some pertinent questions pertaining to democracy in this country. And the ideology of our founding fathers then, they were young, vibrant young men who felt that the world was at their feet. And we've learned a lot of lessons from them. 60 years down the line, how has it shaped the political landscape in Nigeria?
Well, the last speaker has mentioned some illustrations of how it has shaped the landscape. For instance, the political parties. No, I think it was Professor Jibril.
Are we practicing democracy the way it was practiced then, today?
We can't practice, we can't do anything now the way it was done 60 years ago or 100 years ago. Sometimes people say, oh, let's return to the past. You can never return to the past.
I was talking about the passion, the zeal.
There's even more zeal now. I think there's more zeal now. And more vibrancy, a lot of people more educated now who have traveled, they've experienced what it is like in other climes, and they are very passionate. But for the passion that they have in the ideals of democracy, that we should succeed, Nigeria would have been in greater difficulty now. We survived a civil war, and we are forging ahead, making progress if not to the satisfaction of everybody, that would not have been possible if that passion, if that ideal is not there. I will give you, so we're talking about political parties, the nature of political parties and the reach of the political parties is far wider than the reach of political parties in 60 years ago. But there's one aspect, very glaring aspect, which illustrates the improvements that we've made. Chief Lekan Alabi was reading, quoting somebody writing and saying the son. He looks forward to the day the son of so-and-so person and the son of the other. There was no reference to daughter. Because at that, now daughters are being integrated. Yes. And to me, that is very important. There's a new thinking, a new realization. And gradually, women are coming out and taking their rightful position in society. Again, maybe not to the extent that we expect. If we compare ourselves, for instance, to Rwanda. Rwanda, more than 50% of their parliamentarians are women.
And we still don't have 35%
We still don't have 35% in Nigeria, but we are marching forward. The consciousness is there, which didn't exist in the 40s or in the 50s. We can look at other areas to see examples of the progress that we have made.
Strengthen the bond of integration in this country. You know, they say diversity is our strength in this country. I remember Boutros Ghali saying one time that if there's a gold, that gold is in Nigeria. So what can we do to strengthen the bond of integration in Nigeria in these present times?
Well, a lot can be done, and we can also draw from experiences of other countries. One thing that stands out is creating more awareness, more education. The orientation of the youth now, or the current elite of politicians, is wider than those of our founding fathers. We have more educated people now, as I said before, with experiences as to how society can integrate and be forged together than people who led us 60 years ago or before. So education is very crucial. And the more educated you are, the more broad-minded you are, the more readily you can accept, look at superior argument and accept superior argument. So education is important. Then the leadership. Yes, leadership alone does not have the responsibility, but leadership has to show the light in order that others can follow. So there's leadership comes with responsibility, and part of that responsibility is to lead the followership in the right direction. As they say, children look up to their parents while they are growing up, and they grow up to be what they saw their parents do. In similar manner, the younger people are looking at the example being set by the current leadership, the fathers of the nation. And if the leadership shows good example, it will inspire the younger generation to even do better than them. So these are some areas that we can dwell on.
Well,
more education.
That's great,
leadership
Professor. We thank you so much for the analysis, but let me get down to the man from Switzerland, talking about Dr. Humphrey Ojiako.
That's right.
I don't know whether I'm right to call you from Switzerland or
right.
Geneva, that is. Your opening thoughts talked about or alluded to the fact that almost all of you here alluded to the fact that national integration is a work in progress. But this pertinent question of strengthening the bond of unity in Nigeria is what all of us are working towards. Almost every Nigerian, if not all, would not want to see it split today. So my question to you is, how can we further strengthen this? I asked Akambi, that question, and of course, I really want to put it to you, and maybe put it to the rest of us, that this bond of unity is very important. We are celebrating 60 years, and we want to remember for the rest of our lives, if not be Nigerians wherever we are. Somebody once said that if in heaven there would be any country called Nigeria who really want to remain as such.
In fact, again, taken from the veteran politician Adelabu, who said, for political parties to really be called political parties, you have to have an idea that turns into an ideal, that's a passion, and then it transforms into an ideology. Again, fortunately, I'm not a professor. I mean, I'm not a politician, and I don't intend to be one. I know Prof is a very good politician, so he has to defend the constituency.
The constituency is
But honestly, I think part of the issues we have to resolve in Nigeria is this political party thing in the country. Are we really running political parties that can mobilize the people from the grassroots based on certain focus of ideology, focus of what we want, where the Nigeria should be going, should be aiming to go? At the end of the day, it is the same destination, but parties follow from there are different routes to that same destination. That's what it's about. It resolves in the questions you raised before. Should it be a parliamentary system? Should it be a presidential system? The good thing about ideas is that they do not die. Ideas do not die. They evolve. So the idea of political parties is not evolving in Nigeria.
Are we, in a way, saying that it's only on a political platform that we can strengthen the bond?
No.
What other areas can we look at?
Prof gave you the example of education, but there is an area that's critical for national integration.
And what's that area?
It is called justice, equity, fairness. It boils down to leadership. It also comes to structure. How do you structure your society to bring out the best in the people, in the citizens? How do you do that? That is the debate that's been going on for quite a while now. Some people call it restructuring, some call it resetting, those who go to the extremes are talking of secession or disintegrating the country. That should not be even something we consider. That is not to say that we should believe the other extreme, that Nigeria is indivisible. That is, anything created by man is subject to the division or whatever, especially when it is based on multicultural, multilinguistic, multi-religious, and all of those things. There is no sacrosanctity. Nothing is holy about any country. Any country can disintegrate. However, the promise of Nigeria is so huge that if we get the ideal right, if we get the leadership right, if we get the structures right, if we get the system of governance, and I think many constitutional review projects in Nigeria have examined that, I'm wondering why we're not able to bring these things together, agglomerate them, and look at them as a holistic document and go with it. For instance, in the 2014 conference, national conference, which is not operational, they have something very interesting in that. They suggested something like a hybrid between the presidential system and the Westminster system, that's the parliamentary system. And when I read that, it struck me as something very intelligent, something that could work for Nigeria, especially the presidential system. Yes, it has survived for 20 years, but according to one of my colleagues, senior ambassadors of the older generation, he said Nigeria has been moving in this direction, twisting and turning, twisting and turning. Yes, it's twisting and turning because there are certain things about structures, things about leadership selection, which is where the political parties become critical. We're not getting them right, and we should get them right. The presidency, for instance. The presidency, practiced as we do, is probably the most expensive the most expensive structure of governance anywhere in the world today. The only people we seem to be looking up to in this context is the United States. The United States, I can't even begin to compare the GDP of Nigeria with that of the United States. So for them, it is still an issue. In Nigeria, it is so expensive that it is crippling us in some ways.
Dr. Humphrey, I'm not cutting you short. We have almost 7 to 8 days to being really fully 60, and we have so many of these issues at stake. We'll talk politics, and most likely we'll get you across to come and talk much more about that.
Exactly.
The presidential, parliamentary, and the rest of how they've shaped us and brought us to where we are. Muzali, I earlier said when asking that question that all of us are supposed to respond to this. The structures we have, the Nigeria of today, how much of progress have our leaders made in trying to strengthen that bond of unity? Because that is why we're here.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Well, my view is that there isn't much that is wrong with the structure. It is the people operating the system that are problematic. You could move, as we have been doing, back to parliamentary system, because one of the distinguishing characteristics of Nigeria is policy instability. Every leader that comes wants to experiment with something new. So we just keep going back and forth. But as long as you don't have leaders who are visionary, who have integrity, whose focus is development and service to the people, as long as you don't have those kinds of leaders, you'll just be dancing around a circle. But back to your question, I think there is something that has been happening, but on a very small scale. If we could expand it, I think it would be very good.
And what's that?
And that is in places like Lagos State, for example, and I think I can talk also about my own state of Kano, the governments have recognized that there are significant populations of, well, quote unquote, non-indigenous people living within their territory who should be recognized politically. So I think right from Governor Tinubu's time, the Igbos have been having at least one slot in the cabinet of Lagos. And the present Director General of Budget of the Federation actually served as Commissioner for Budget in Lagos State in Fashola's time. And I think it was that connection that actually gave him the federal job as well. So he's behaving as if he's an Igbo man from Lagos State. And that's where we should be going. Similarly, in Kano, I think in Governor Shekarau's time, he gave positions of advisor to a prominent Yoruba individual and also a prominent Igbo individual. So you see, because actually the Constitution does not preclude you from standing for election because you are not originally from an area. All it requires is residency. If you're resident in that area, you can actually contest. And we've had cases in Kano, people from Sabongari who are of Yoruba or Igbo extraction contesting for the councillorship of the Fage or Nasarawa local governments. Okay, so I think if we can...
And winning, really.
Yeah, winning and serving.
Yeah, sure.
So you see, if we can be more tolerant and open up this particular route and make it... I would like to see an Igbo man who is resident in Adamawa State, has been there for 20, 30 years, come as a House of Reps member representing Jimeta, constituency, federal constituency, for example. Just as Dr. Ojiako gave the example of Altine, I think it was Altine Dikko. I think that was the name. He was the first mayor of Enugu, and he was a Fulani man from Sokoto State. So we used to have those things, but they were disrupted. Now we have them on a small scale. Why don't we expand them and make it possible for anybody to become anything, anywhere. Abolish this settler indigent dichotomy, or in fact, take away the state of origin thing from all official forms, so that it's where you live that is important, not where. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you. So we have a number of tweets that came in. Nigerians want to contribute to this conversation. I'll begin with Suleiman Babagana. Nigeria is 60. So far, so good. But we should think our diversity to be our strength and not what divides us for the betterment of Nigeria.
And Mutana Farouk says Nigeria at 60. The journey so far cannot be rated 100%, but tremendous improvement have been recorded. We appreciate God Almighty for keeping us together as one nation. With unity, progress and development, this should be our success story, that is, and we must think and act positively about Nigeria.
Suleiman Babagana tweets, "The Change Begins With Me campaign is a vital tool which can be used to change the country for the better from the deteriorating moral standard in the country."
For Comrade Alaji Ngala, the role played by our forefathers and veterans like Tafawa Balewa, Sardauna, Azikiwe, and others, they keep the nation in peace and harmony. Let's take it up and let's pray according to our faith to get peace in our beloved country, Nigeria.
Ibrahim Modu Aju tweets, "Despite our numerous challenges after 60 years of independence, it is worth celebrating. However, there are diverse narratives, especially with the advent of social media from ethnic groups and individuals. Youths need to be reoriented on national peace, unity, and integration."
Usman Banu Kantu, we shall pronounce it properly, says Nigeria, which started with the amalgamation of the southern and northern protectorates in 1914 to 36 states for administrative convenience, and with the initial population of 45.14 million in 1960 to 200 million in 2018, one can safely say that a lot of achievements in national integration has been achieved.
First to Akimboyewa, integration, if we must make progress and prosper, the federal character principle of fairness and equity in the distribution of public posts should be replicated in the states. I encourage all Nigerians to live together in peace because we have more in common than what divides us.
And finally, Jones Ferrari says, "I can see that unity has improved in this country recently." That's some charity news. We must unite together to fight our common enemy. Nigeria is the only country we have, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And I'm Chris Simon, Dele Jack Solomon, Mike Ayako, all congratulating Nigeria at 60. We are really running out of time. We have another, topic to discuss with other guests, and I think that's all we can take on Good Morning Nigeria from discussion on integration and national integration in Nigeria. We wish to thank Dr. Umana Humphrey Ojiafo, former Nigerian ambassador to Switzerland and the Principality of Liechtenstein and permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations Office and other international organizations in Geneva. It's been a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Professor Mohammed Munsali Jibrin, he is the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Federal University of Lafayette, Nasarawa State. Thank you so much for coming. Professor Osarame Osumbo, he's a former governor of Edo State. As usual, it's a pleasure having you. And from my Ibadan studio, veteran broadcaster and an Ibadan High Chief, Oloyelekan Alabi. Thank you so much for your input and perspective on the history of Nigeria. We thank you all. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue with our conversation on Maritime Day.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring great personalities from all walks of life. Expository interview with a young TV presenter who shows passion on what she does, Morayo Afolabi Brown of TVC. Pick a copy of this compendium of mind-blowing stories and get abreast with issues as regards media convergence, leadership, health, star profiles, star programs, fashion, sports, human angle stories, and lots more. Meet some media professionals within our space who have paid their dues in no small ways. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Well, thank you for being there. Over time, the Sustainable Development Goals have created several opportunities in various sectors, including the maritime industry.
And today, emphasis is being laid on sustainable shipping in a sustainable planet, even as the world marks Maritime Day. Joining us from Lagos via Zoom to talk more on the World Maritime Day is the Director General, Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Bashir Jimo. Welcome to Good Morning, Nigeria.
And also joining.
Thank you very much, Jumai, and welcome Nigerians, and happy World Maritime Day. We are very fortunate to be a maritime nation because of our coast and the enormous maritime asset we have within our own coast. Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you.
Also joining us from Lagos via Zoom is the Vice President, Association of Marine Engineers, that is, and Surveyors of Nigeria, Emma Ilori. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. It's Engineer Emmanuel Ilori, the Vice President of the Association of Marine Engineers and Surveyors of Nigeria. Thank you.
DG sir, the world is marking Maritime Day today. What are the implications of this year's theme, that is, on the industry in Nigeria?
I can hear you well, Yusuf.
All right, what I'm saying is today is Maritime Day, and the world is marking it as such. You are too marking it, and we are also marking it here, using that as a platform. What are the implications of this year's theme on the industry in Nigeria?
Well, the implications, as you know, Yusuf, the issue of Sustainable Development Goal, which there are 17, which the International Maritime Organization agreed in 2015 with over 193 countries endorsing it in order to eradicate poverty and hunger. So this one is being applicable to all developing and developed countries. And among the 17 Sustainable Development Goals agreed, only 3 concerns maritime industry. The SDG 12, that's Sustainable Development Goal 12, responsible for consumption and production, which is operational waste from ships. And then we have SDG 13, which has the climate action. The IMO has put in place a set of measures for the control of emissions from ships, from the shipping sector, which is greenhouse gases. And then the SDG 14, which is life below the sea. We have a number of gains and benefits on this life below the sea, such as aquatic lives, fish, shrimps, and other valuable things that we can use it to eradicate poverty. So these are most of the important things, and it has a great deal of implications. That is the SDG 12, 13, and 14 for the Nigerian maritime sector. And the implication of those 3 SDGs hold for the maritime sector to reflect the manner in which the agents, our own agents in the sector, respond to the crisis that may follow something to concrete. It's not quickly done and addressed to the challenges.
What we are saying is looking at these goals and looking at the maritime sector in Nigeria, which you had, can you outline the achievements made in these goals one after the other? We have very little time for this as such.
Okay. Well, we have a number of achievements for this under this Sustainable Development Goal. And what we do is in terms of enabling triangle. The enabling triangles, we call it under one angle has to do with maritime security, the maritime infrastructure, and then the governance, good governance, which is an interventionary policy. So if you take the maritime security, you know there is nothing you can achieve without security in our own water domain. It's a big challenge, but recently the federal government approved the contract for the maritime asset, the deployment of maritime asset. And this asset, more than 85% arrived Nigeria to ensure that we are more ready in tackling our own maritime security challenges, which is popularly known as Deep Blue Project. And this Deep Blue Project provides number of assets, including special mission vessels, 17 past intervention vessels, 2 special mission aircraft, 3 special helicopters, mission helicopters, and number of technologies, which include C4Is. And the C4I, these are instruments that we have to police our own water without necessarily concentrating on these platforms. And in addition to that, the agency in recent aggressive drive went through a number of engagement with the relevant security agencies like Navy, Air Force, Inspector General of Police, Custom, Immigrations, and other working groups. The working group includes the local stakeholders and also the international stakeholders to realize our own mandate. The physical and monetary incentives also, which we are now pursuing. In terms of physical incentives, we want to see that the beneficiaries, that is the stakeholders, the maritime stakeholders, benefit certain, policies in terms of physical incentives, reductions of duty when they are importing their own, ships, as well as the monetary incentives, which will now give them a leeway if they are importing spare parts for the repairs of these ships. They can enjoy certain, government policies. So this one comes under the good governance, which has to do with their, policy interventions. And other things has to do with cabotage. When you look at the cabotage trade, give us the advantage to have our own cargo. Only the owners of the ships in Nigeria or built in Nigeria, manned in Nigeria, registered in Nigeria can take cargo within the local vicinity. So you can see this helps in creating employment where we are having a number of problems. The issue of also ship repairs, which has to do with modular floating dock. We are just about to deploy the modular floating dock. We are hoping that it's going to create employment for over 350 Nigerians, as well as the foreign earning. It will also use as a basis of training our own cadet from MAN Academy Oron that specialize in the maritime industry. This plus other so many things form under the infrastructure. So you can see the enabling triangle try to address the issue of maritime security, the issue of infrastructure, as well as the good governance policy intervention from the government, as well as incentives given to the owners, to the ship owners. Thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Bashir Jomo, thank you. And this year's theme is Sustainable Shipping for Sustainable Planet. What kind of opportunities does it provide for the maritime sector? And what has the maritime sector, the SDGs create profit for the maritime sector? I'm looking at Ima Ilori.
Thank you very much, and good morning again. The focus of this year's World Maritime Day is to look at the maritime dimensions of the SDG goals, which is as mandated by the IMO. The IMO this year is trying to emphasize the role of the maritime industry in the achievement of the SDGs, as it were. And it cannot be more brought home than the recent global event of the COVID-19 pandemic, when if you realize that 80% of the global world trade goes through the sea. And then just imagine if we eliminate the maritime dimensions in the pandemic, the whole world would have grounded to a halt. So it shows how important the maritime industry is to the sustainability of our globe. And if you bring it back home, what we are now trying to do is to align Nigeria with the IMO objectives of the maritime dimensions of the SDGs. Let's take, for example, the issue of no poverty. And that's going about the diversification of the economy. If you think about zero hunger, what can we do? What's the maritime dimension of zero hunger? And we are looking here at the ocean fishing development. Now, with Nigeria, with a vast ocean, we cannot say we are contributing enough to food security by not harnessing the fishing industry that we can easily garner in Nigeria. Now, good well-being and health, we are talking about the role of the emission gases on the health of the nation. If we have pollution coming from the air and from the sea, then obviously we need to do something about that. Another example is affordable or clean energy, which is SDG 7. We need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel energy and develop alternatives. So the role of the maritime sector or the maritime industry on the achievement of the SDG goals seems to have been sort of suppressed. And what the IMO and through the Nigerian effort this year is to raise awareness of what the maritime sector can contribute to the achievement of the SDG goals. Take the SDG 11, for example, is talking about sustainable cities and communities. The DG just raised the issue of security. Our communities in the coastal areas cannot be sustainable without security. Climate change is another example, the issue of greenhouse gases. So there are so many issues that the maritime industry can contribute to the achievement of.
Well, we seem to have lost Ilori there, but Dr. Bashir Jamu, we are talking about the SDGs and how, you know, the maritime sector fares in their actualization. SDG 7, SDG 11 are all part of these ones that must have, or you must have really, you know, gone through in trying to achieve some feat of them. But we can't run away from the fact that COVID-19 has affected almost everything and everybody, maritime sector inclusive. What's the effect of this very pandemic on the sector you're heading? We are asking you, Bashir Jamu, about talking about the effect of COVID-19 on the maritime sector. It seems as if we've lost your audio there. Maybe you can just look at the system and get it corrected, and then we can have it going. Can you hear us now? No, you can't hear us. Okay, Ilori, let's get back to you. Maybe we'll be able to do a little justice to that. Can you really give us an assessment of the effect of COVID-19 on the maritime sector?
Well, it's a global phenomenon. And like I said just now, the global economy is dependent by nearly 80% for the movement of goods necessary for the global economy to move around. So we need the ships and we need the seafarers to run the ships. Now, what happened recently is that we kept the global economy moving by ensuring that the ships continue to move. Unfortunately, some of those seafarers who are caught in the web then have longer time. The stresses of the moving the vessel around became very difficult for them, but they still continue to sustain those vessels. So the global economy was kept moving. Just let's pause now for 80% of the global economy of the logistics to have grounded to a halt. Then what we are saying will be different. So the maritime industry, as we said, is very, very critical to the sustainability of the economy and of the world. And particularly, all those goods that were needed during the recovery from the pandemic still came mostly by sea.
Okay, Mr. Ilori, I hope Dr. Bashir Jomo is back. Is he back? Okay, we now return to Imai Ilori. Let me ask you a question. You know, there are so many untapped opportunities in the maritime sector here in Nigeria, and in the sustainable culture that we have here, the shipping companies or the maritime industries, what kind of opportunities can they harness with, vis-a-vis the IMO regulatory framework? Mr. Ilori, I'm saying that there are so many untapped opportunities in the maritime sector in Nigeria. So how can we key into the IMO regulatory framework to ensure that the maritime sector in Nigeria brings so much profit and a lot of people go into the business?
Yes, that's a very, very critical point. The indigenization of the maritime sector in Nigeria is a major focus because the indigenous Nigerian companies and owners have been excluded predominantly from this industry. And if you think of a country of 200 million people and it's a maritime nation, the opportunities there are so many. We import our goods and we export our oil, which means we should be participating fully in the maritime dimensions of the economy. At the moment, it's not there. In terms of logistics of goods by sea, it's not there. Shipping development, we are not participating fully. Ship repairs were not really done here in Nigeria. Shipping here in Nigeria, the DG talked about cabotage, but even the vessels needed to implement cabotage fully, they are not built in Nigeria. We still go abroad to go and buy vessels. And this is year 2020. Nigeria as an industry, the country that needs to be industrialized needs to actually key in fully into the shipping development. Now, IMO is trying to create a level playing field for all nations so that we can participate. Take, for example, the fishing industry. Now, we are not participating in the global fishing industry at all. And then IMO presently is creating the enable environment where we can have the necessary regulations for fishing vessels and for fishing business development so that Nigerians can take advantage of this. Take, for example, about 40% of our protein comes from fish, and then we are not participating fully in ocean fishing development. So we need to key into the opportunities, and the IMO is doing its best to actually engage developing nations, and Nigeria needs to cooperate fully with the initiatives coming out of the IMO. And lastly, we need to recognize that technical development is key to the development of the maritime sector. And this is an area that Nigeria at the moment that we are not engaging fully in it. So we need to engage with technological development and technical development so that we can key in to the development of this nation and ensure that the maritime sector plays a major role that it should do in the global economic development and in Nigeria economic development, because those nations that have developed and that are controlling the global economy rely more importantly on their maritime sector. And Nigeria will do very well if we rely or if we make sure that we develop our maritime industry to ensure that we tap the necessary benefits arise.
Well, thank you, Ilori there. Dr. Bashir Jamo, let's just look at this angle of the whole maritime sector. What are the untapped opportunities, if one may ask, embedded in a sustainability culture, that is, that shipping companies or maritime industry can harness? Talking about your industry now.
much. I'm back. I'm very sorry. I think the service was tripping on. I was talking. I think you are not hearing me. There are a lot of opportunities. You know, we have just concluded the process and procedures of start disbursing the CVFF Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, and in so doing, the qualified applicants will be able to get some relief by getting funds from the federal government to acquire ships so that we can have our own fleets, and then we earn a lot of foreign exchange. Similarly, on the issue of shipbuilding, you know, we are laid back in terms of shipbuilding. When you look at the history of shipbuilding, Nigeria started the issue of, Ajakuta steel rolling mill with the intention to be producing steels for the ship building, and along with South Korea. South Korea today emerged as #1 country that produces ships using their own, their own steel. But Nigeria, we are still lagging behind. So what we are doing now is to activate and see how we can now promote the issue of shipbuilding. The ship repairs industry also is there. We are trying to see how we can address that issue. With the agency's intervention, we imported one of the largest modular floating dock in Africa. Only South Africa and Nigeria will own that floating dock. It's brand new one. So instead of Nigerians carrying their own vessels outside the shore of our own nation, they have this modular floating dock to use it, and then we conserve our own foreign exchange. And similarly, when it comes to the the development, human capital development, the agency, single-handedly we handle the issue of creations of the Maritime University, which the bill is going to the presidency for the second time to ratify. But the university has been in place, producing a number of Nigerians professionals that can, feed the industry. This aspect is not only for Nigerians, ship owners to carry. The policy is to see that the younger Nigerian generations trained here, we can export them because we have the advantage of the younger Nigerians, the age bracket that they can, use their own talent and ability to get their own training in terms of marine architecture, marine environment, maritime engineering, and then as well as, different sectors of services that we can render. So younger generation, they will have to get those training. In addition to the MAN Academy Oron, we have Nigerian Maritime University also that do train these younger Nigerians. And then additionally, the other area we are looking at is the ship bunkering. When we say ship bunkering in Nigeria, we look at the illegal bunkering. We have legal bunkering. The Nigerians, the Nigerian ships owners, both residents in Nigeria and outside, you begin to wonder, where do they get their foiling? If you have your own car, Malan Yusuf, you know that you go to the, fuel station, filling station, you fuel your own car and proceed with their own journey. But for those who are at the sea, where do they bunker their own ships? So you have to do the oil bunkering. We want to make Nigeria as a center or as a link where ship owners, all those ships that are coming here to lift our own crude oil, we will have to centralize the issue of ship bunkering and officiate it so that people can have things to do. And the foreign exchange generations, by the time the Dangote refineries start, will be producing light, fuel that the ship owners can be used for bunkers, not only within Nigeria, even the West African coast.
Jamo, we thank you so very much for being part of the show this morning. And we must really congratulate you for, rather as you mark your day today. And then some appreciation goes to Emma Ilori, the Vice President, Association of Marine Engineers and Surveyors of Nigeria. We thank you so much. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us.
Social distancing and stay safe.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
NTA News. When the news breaks, we mend it and present it without blemish. NTA News, authentic and authoritative.